Sammi Kane Kraft was just 20 years old when she died on a Los Angeles highway, trapped in a mangled car. Whispers say she left behind a crumpled note, but no one could read it. Some wonder if her final phone messages were deleted to hide something. People say Sammi stared out the car window before the crash, her eyes seeming to know something was coming. Others question if the driver's family had enough pull to make the police close the case quickly. Sammi was once a talented kid, throwing baseballs that stunned everyone, then shot to fame in Bad News Bears in 2005. So how did a girl like that meet such a tragic end? There are murmurs of a torn notebook, a nameless postcard, a handwritten invitation. Was it just an accident? Or is there a secret buried deep? Stick with me as we uncover Sammi's story. From the baseball field to that fateful highway, where her heart still beats, but the truth remains unclear. What do you think? Chapter 1. Throwing like lightning, darkness, waiting. On the dusty fields of Livingston, Sammi Kane Kraft threw baseballs like lightning, never imagining a strange look from the stands would lead her to her final moment. On a rain-soaked highway in the dead of night. Picture New Jersey in the late 1990s, the sunset painting the field red. Sammi, 8 years old, stood on the pitcher's mound, her shadow stretching long like an omen. She adjusted her glove 3 times after every pitch, a quirky habit no one understood. While her friends played with dolls, Sammi threw fastballs, the crack like a hammer hitting the catcher's mitt. Sometimes, she'd gaze toward the highway as if she sensed fate waiting. All she wanted was to play ball. Back in the early 90s, in a modest suburban home, this curly-haired girl hurled balls at the backyard fence like she was training for Judgment Day. By 11, she was pitching at 70 miles an hour, making high school boys jealous. The only girl in a boys' league, Sammi was often called that odd kid, but she just threw harder, smiled brighter. Fathers who once scoffed now said, "I wish my kid had her grit." Sammi wasn't there for their late praise. Her family left New Jersey one winter morning, packing baseballs, wooden bats, and gloves into an old van. On the foggy window, Sammi traced one word with her finger: "Watch me." They moved to Los Angeles so she and her brother could play ball year-round. On the Toluca Lake Titans field, Sammi became a local legend. Once, she threw 9 straight strikes in the final inning, saving her team from defeat. The crowd behind the iron fence, their breath forming thin wisps in the fall air, cheered wildly. But a friend recalled that after one game, a middle-aged man lingered, scribbling in a black notebook. Her brother Frankie said, Sammi was the kind who never gave up. Behind her smile, though, were quiet moments. Once, after an unfair call by an umpire, she stood frozen on the mound, staring into the distance, silent. For 2 days, she didn't speak to anyone. Frankie said after a loss, she tore the first page from a small notebook and stuffed it in a drawer, never opening it again. A friend said she played ball to escape the prying eyes. Those words, like the message on the van's foggy window, like that fateful night later, seemed like a promise, or maybe a warning, of a future no one saw coming. That little girl didn't dream of Hollywood. She just wanted to stand on the field, hear the balls crack, and prove she was as good as anyone. But fate had other plans. One summer day in 2004, a casting agent walked onto her field, and everything changed forever. Sammi broke barriers on the diamond, but could that strange look from the stands and that torn notebook page hide a secret that led her to that doomed highway? Chapter 2. Bright lights, erased secrets. Sammi Kane Kraft stood under the studio lights, hearing a whisper from a dark corner, unaware it would guide her to a highway in the dead of night, where death was waiting. Los Angeles, summer of 2004, the hum of cameras filled a stuffy studio. Sammi, 12 years old, stepped onto the Bad News Bears set, chosen not for acting skills, but for pitches that brought opponents to their knees. A casting agent who'd seen her on the field, eyes sharp like she'd found a secret, brought her to Hollywood. The set wasn't like the gritty fields of her childhood. Spotlights glared through windows, blinding like those sunsets long ago. But Sammi sometimes turned away, as she had from the van's foggy glass. A lighting tech said she always checked the mirror twice before a scene, as if afraid an unseen shadow was watching. She threw real pitches, no stunt double needed, alongside Billy Bob Thornton. The film, released in 2005, grossed $34 million, and Sammi's role as Amanda Whurlitzer was praised for its authenticity, like she'd walked straight from the field to the screen. But a short clip of Sammi, crying quietly between takes, mentioned in a behind-the-scenes blog, has vanished from the internet. Who deleted it and why? In interviews, Sammi flashed a bright smile, talking about pizza nights with the cast, her voice clear as it was on the mound. But Hollywood's a maze of light and shadow. A friend said she once whispered, "I don't belong here." Under the spotlight's pressure, the 13-year-old felt stifled. A crew member recalled hearing an odd voice from a studio corner, like it was warning her to be careful. Was that whisper, like the one from the stands years before, following her here? Sammi shone like a comet, but her light faded fast. A producer said, "We wanted her for another lead role, but no one picked up the phone." Sammi turned down every offer, choosing school, baseball, and dreams of the Olympics, as she'd confided to Frankie. But Hollywood left its mark. She kept a set photo in her wallet, staring at it thoughtfully, as if missing her dusty fields. A crew member said she left a scribbled note on the makeup table. Just a few unreadable words, then gone. The last time she was seen on set, she stood quietly by a window, lights shining through, like she was looking at a road no one else saw. The girl who'd written, "Watch me," on the van's window stepped back, but Hollywood's shadow seemed to follow. Sammi conquered Tinseltown with raw talent, but could that strange whisper and that mysterious note hide something that led her to that fateful road? Chapter 3. False Calm, Nameless Warning. Los Angeles, 2006. Sammi Kane Kraft sat quietly in the living room, hands trembling as she opened a postcard with no address, just one line: "You still have time." She looked out the window, eyes uneasy, as if seeing the shadow of a dark highway where fate waited. The girl who'd written "Watch me" on the van's glass and heard strange whispers on set now wanted to forget Hollywood's glare. At 14, Sammi strummed her first guitar chords, writing soulful folk pop songs. With her brother Frankie, she created a musical called Funerals, inspired by their grandmother's passing. Rehearsals in the Kraft family garage were full of laughter, but also silent moments. Frankie said she once flinched while looking out the window, then quietly pulled the curtains, as if afraid of an unseen gaze. She joined a band called Scary Girls, playing small coffee shops with friends like Alana Haim. Sammi sang about loss, her voice trembling like it touched a hidden pain. She enrolled at El Camino Real High School, played girls softball, and graduated in 2010. Later, at San Francisco State University, she'd returned to Los Angeles to play music. A friend said Sammi sometimes grew pensive, as if yearning for something bigger, but scared Hollywood would swallow her. She turned down another acting role, telling Frankie she felt uneasy about the industry. But was that nameless postcard, like the whisper from the stands years ago, making her hesitate? Family and friends were her anchor. Frankie, her confidant, urged her to keep writing music. Her parents, wary of Hollywood, supported her passion for song. But life wasn't always smooth. A friend said Sammi sometimes stared at Bad News Bears posters in her room, eyes distant, as if wondering if she'd made the right choice. She kept a small notebook, like the one she'd torn a page from years before, but no one knew what she wrote. Once, a scrap of paper fell from her bag, just a few scribbled words, before she quickly snatched it back. Sammi stepped away from the spotlight, but the darkness seemed to follow. The girl who threw like lightning now sang sad songs, as if sensing a road no one saw coming. The last time she was seen at a coffee shop, she stood quietly by a window, dim light shining through, like she was looking toward a dark highway where fate waited. Sammi chose a simple life, but that hunger for fame, was it truly quiet? Or was it pulling her toward a connection she couldn't escape? Chapter 4. radiant smile, silent connection. Los Angeles, 2011. A friend said that at a party, Sammi Kane Kraft got a handwritten invitation. No sender's name, just a place and time. She crumpled it in her hand, eyes uneasy, as if seeing the shadow of a dark highway where fate waited. In a noisy bar, neon lights flickering, Sammi, now 19, walked in. Her smile radiant, but sometimes distant, like the girl who'd written, "Watch me," on the van's glass. Hollywood was behind her, but Los Angeles still glittered with temptation. Sammi, a college student, came back from San Francisco to hang out with friends, including Molly Kate Adams, her sister's boyfriend. She performed in coffee shops, her folk pop voice rising in dim light. But the parties started stretching late. A friend said she felt pressured to keep up with a lavish lifestyle, booze, sleepless nights, and endless stories. After one gig, she stood quietly, watching bar lights reflect on a window, her eyes like they were back at that casting call years ago. Sammi wasn't an addict, but the social whirlwind pulled her off course. A friend recalled her saying, "I want to slow down, but people keep dragging me along." She kept a small notebook, like the one she'd torn a page from, writing thoughts no one read. Once, a scrap of paper fell from her bag, just a few scribbled words, before she grabbed it back. But was that handwritten invitation, like the nameless postcard years before, leading her somewhere inescapable? Her family and friends tried to ground her. Frankie, her brother, pushed her to focus on music. Her parents worried, urging her to steer clear of wild parties. But Los Angeles, with its dazzling streets and broken dreams, made Sammi wonder if she'd missed her shot at glory. A friend said she once stared into a mirror, searching her own eyes, as if looking for the girl from the dusty field. She wrote something in her notebook, then snapped it shut, like she feared someone would see. Among her new friends, one made her smile longer than the rest. But that same person made her quieter than ever. The girl who threw like lightning was now swept into long nights, as if sensing a road no one saw coming. The last time she was seen at a bar, she stood quietly by a window, neon lights flickering, like she was looking toward a dark highway where fate waited. Sammi was searching for connection in Los Angeles, but that handwritten invitation, an uneasy look, did they lead her to a fateful bond? Chapter 5. Carefree Laughter, Vanished Messages. Los Angeles, October 9th, 2012. Sammi Kane Kraft sat in the passenger seat of an Audi, laughing with friends, unaware this dark highway was where fate had been waiting. The driver, Molly Kate Adams, her sister's boyfriend, floored the gas, the car speeding through the night. Anonymous witness said hours earlier, Adams and Sammi had a brief argument behind a bar. No one caught the details, just saw Sammi walk away, eyes uneasy. The Audi passed a gas station, lights glinting off the window. A friend said Sammi stared at the side window and whispered something. No one heard what. Then it all shattered. The car slammed into a truck, the sound of twisting metal tearing through the night. A Toyota rear-ended them, turning the Audi into scrap. Firefighters had to cut the car to pull Sammi out, but she'd suffered a severe brain injury. At Cedars-Sinai Hospital, her family held each other, sobbing, as doctors said she wouldn't make it. A friend said hours after the crash, Sammy's phone kept ringing. But when police returned it, all her messages from the last week were gone. Who erased them? Adams, lightly injured, was arrested for drunk driving and later sentenced to 3 years in prison. But the story didn't end there. Some felt the sentence was too light, like the investigation closed too fast. A friend said Sammy's family asked to reopen the case on Adams's actions, but was denied for lack of evidence. Adams, close to the family, seemed to hide some tension. A witness said, before getting in the car, Sammi glanced back at the window, like she saw a figure from her old field. But was that whisper she left on the glass, like the nameless postcard or the note on the makeup table, swallowed by the darkness? Sammi didn't deserve to go like that. A friend said she was still laughing before getting in the car, talking about a show she'd just seen. But another said days earlier, Sammi held a scrap of paper, like that party invitation, then crumpled it, eyes distant. The girl who threw like lightning, who wrote "Watch me" on the van's glass, was now trapped in a moment no one saw coming. The last time she was seen, highway lights shone through the window, like the sunset on her dusty field, but she had no chance to turn back. Was the crash just a bad choice? Or do those final whispers and erased messages hide a secret that led Sammi to that dark highway? Chapter 6. Heart Still Beating, Secret Buried. Livingston, New Jersey, late 2012. A small church overflowed with white flowers, sobs echoing at the memorial. Sammi Kane Kraft's family stood quietly, clutching photos of the girl who threw on dusty fields. Her death wasn't just a loss, it was a wound that would never heal. Frankie, her brother, stared out the church window, dim light shining through, like the highway lights where his sister slipped away. Frankie turned his grief into art with a documentary, Help Her Live, about the family's decision to donate Sammy's heart to Yvonne Payne, a woman saved by their kindness. Frankie placed a stethoscope on Yvonne's chest. The heartbeat thumped, like drums from an old game, echoing Sammi on the field, her first pitch and the final one she never got to throw. "She's still here," Frankie said, voice breaking, like hearing Sammy's whisper from that highway again. Her friends channeled their pain into art too. Alana Haim, her close friend, wrote "Hallelujah" for Haim's album with the line, "I met you on Monday and you were gone by Tuesday." The song touched millions, carrying Sammy's story to the world. An old teacher said in her final week, Sammi lingered after class, writing in a black notebook. When asked, she just smiled. "I'm untangling a knot." But was that notebook, like the nameless postcard, or the makeup table note, holding words she couldn't say? The family's pain deepened, knowing the crash could have been avoided. A friend said Frankie was furious the investigation closed so fast, like someone didn't want it dug into. A witness said the deleted messages from Sammy's phone seemed to hide a rift. The family found solace in her legacy, but the darkness lingered. A friend said Sammi once stood quietly by a coffee shop window, lights flickering, like she saw a figure from her old field. Sammy's legacy stretched beyond the field in Hollywood. Her heart beats in Yvonne's chest, Alana's song echoes, and Frankie's documentary is a beacon of hope in the dark. But questions remain about the handwritten invitation, her uneasy eyes, that dark highway. The girl who wrote "Watch me" on the van's glass left a void no one can fill. Her family finds hope in her legacy. But that black notebook and those erased messages, do they hide the truth about the night she left? Conclusion: legacy's light, shadow unnamed. Sammi Kane Kraft lived only 20 years, but her mark was as sharp as a pitch shaking the catcher's mitt. She wasn't Hollywood's brightest star, but her role as Amanda Whurlitzer in Bad News Bears was a timeless moment. A girl throwing with joy and grit that audiences couldn't forget. She shattered gender stereotypes on the dusty field, proving a girl could outshine any doubting glance. But Sammy's legacy goes beyond the screen. Her heart still beats in Yvonne Payne's chest. Alana Haim's "Hallelujah" resonates worldwide, and Frankie's "Help Her Live" is a flame of hope amid the darkness. Sammy's story is a bitter lesson. It reminds us of the cost of wrong choices. One night on a highway can steal a life full of promise. It calls us to think about organ donation, an act that turns loss into hope. Sammi taught us to live true to ourselves, like she pitched with all her heart, fearless of judging eyes. Above all, her story warns of life's fragility. One moment, she was laughing in a bar. The next, highway lights swallowed her into the dark. But what about the mysteries around her death? On October 9th, 2012, it's recorded that Molly Kate Adams' drunk driving caused the crash, but many can't stop wondering, is that all there is? A friend said. Sammy's final week's messages vanished from her phone. A witness mentioned a brief argument between Sammi and Adams before the crash, but no one heard the words. An anonymous Reddit post in 2014 described a notebook holding things Sammi couldn't say aloud. It was quickly deleted. No one could verify it. The nameless invitation, the addressless postcard, The makeup table note. Do these pieces connect? A friend said Sammi once looked out a window, eyes uneasy, like she saw a figure from her old field. Was there a whisper, a glance, or a bond that pulled her to that dark highway? I don't have the answers, and maybe we never will. But I invite you to think, what really happened that night? A bad choice, or a secret buried in Los Angeles' shadows? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sammi Kane Kraft is gone, but her heart still beats. Not just in Yvonne's chest, but in the stories we tell. She's the girl on the field, the fleeting star, the quiet hero who saved a life. That heartbeat is a light in the tragedy, but behind that light, a shadow still waits to be named.